open for the June 7th. I will entertain a motion for approval of minutes from May 17th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. First on our agenda, we have a new public hearing for 5 Manley Street for a notice of intent and a general stormwater management permit for Marcus Partners, Inc. for construction of building, parking, septic, and stormwater within 100 feet of a BBW. And do we have somebody presenting? Hi. Hello.
Hi.
So if I might change up the order of things a little bit. So bear with me, Dave. Come on in, sit down.
Okay.
Everybody sign in? Okay, sign in. There's a sign-in sheet.
If you need another chair, you can, we have a couple extras you can grab up front to pull over.
So the commission had done an informal with the applicant and his engineer up off of Manley Street, and they're asking for some waivers, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, but there is a couple of areas, there are a couple of areas where they're intruding into the 50-foot no-touch. And so there was a lot of discussion during the informal about that, and I want to present some information to help sort of center in the concept that you'll hear from me later on. So I'm going to call up this drawing here that I prepared. I took it from the applicant's package and marked it up with my own markings. And let me get it so Steve can see it.
Sure.
What do I want here? Share. Present. Window. All right, so the site itself is marked in green. That's the boundary line. The wetland is the blue that you see there. This here is the town well site. And the brown marks that you see here and over here and here are just a fragment of the amount of four-wheeler and dirt bike trails that are heavily utilizing this area. And they're doing it without authorization from the owner. And they enter here up near the gas station. There's 2 entry points here and here. And they also come in along this driveway for the existing building at this point here and get in onto the property. I've marked the 50-foot buffer with a red color. It's a little hard to see in this. But I'll stop sharing this one and bring up the next one. So this one is a little bit closer map that shows the boundary line in the green again, and now more details of where those four-wheelers are traversing the property. And actually, they go in between these things, but these are the well-defined paths, but they'll find any little area that they can to go over some of these mounds of gravel and so forth to jump it and tip over their four-wheelers, and they're driving regular like a truck, four-wheel drive truck in there with gas cans, and fueling up their four-wheelers and their dirt bikes, and who knows what else. The place is a mess. It's a lot of garbage and debris out there that they bring in and they don't take out. And the reason I'm pointing this out is that we have that town well right nearby here, and I'll stop sharing this one and bring in the next one. Now this is an aerial photo from Google Earth. So I don't have the green lines on this because the Google Earth doesn't show the property lines, but it's roughly in this area here. And you can see from the aerial photographs the tan lines through the woods here and out in here. And more important, and I think really bothers me, is that the section in the blue is actually damaged wetlands, that they're out there mucking up the wetlands because they really enjoy getting their vehicles bogged down in the mud, and they just seem to get a big charge out of that. And there's our well. And so you can see how the proximity of the damage of the wetlands, and it's right in our aquifer. And this project is being proposed to build up on upland. They are, again, as I mentioned, infringing on the 50 in a couple of areas, and David can explain when he makes his presentation how much. But if they get approved, this has been approved already, and for a construction project that apparently isn't too marketable, and now they're proposing a change so that they can make it more marketable. And the benefit is that if somebody goes in here and manages the site, they're going to stop the four-wheelers from going in there. Otherwise, it's going to continue this way. And apparently the layout that was proposed that we approved and extended isn't marketable, and so the owner's just going to end up probably having to let these dirt bike riders and these four-wheelers go out onto that site all the time. So this is a way that I'm thinking that if the commission sees that it has some benefit to grant a waiver, there's a justification for it. It will stop this. And then besides that, the habitat management people are asking that there'll be a restriction placed on the land so that nothing can be damaged any further than what was approved by, if it's eventually approved by the commission. So that's the preliminary I wanted to give you before he makes his discussion.
Is the owner of the property here?
We're the applicant.
Is the owner of the property though here?
No.
You're the owner?
Yep.
What do you mean by you don't think it's marketable?
Well, why don't we
Do the presentation.
do the
and bring it up.
presentation, we'll
Okay.
explain it in a little bit different words.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this. Were you able to see those at home?
Yes.
Sean, can you bring up the slideshow that I emailed down, and if you don't have it there, it's on this thumb drive.
Yep, I'll do the thumb drive.
Okay. So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Conservation Commission, and concerned parties in the public that may be here in the building and or at their homes following the public hearing. with our order of business. These are the white slips for the butter notification. Again, my name is David Mackwell. I'm with Kelly Engineering Group. We prepared the notice of intent, stormwater management report, and site development plans that are before the commission this evening. As with me tonight, as part of our team, is excuse me, it's Brandon Fritz and Josh Berman with Marcus Partners. Marcus Partners are the purchasers of the property and are currently engaged in a P&S with the seller. The Marcus Partners is focused on building warehouse properties of various sizes, and what they found here when we took a look at the previous approval was the building shape and the access to the loading doesn't quite line up with what they are seeing for the market, for the warehouse market today.
Now, you were in here before, right?
We were here in
Yep.
March.
With a new
Yep.
design of the building that was gonna be sold before, but that fell through, right?
I don't know if anything was gonna be sold or fell through.
Or whatever happened, but
Yeah,
you
well,
guys came in and
This
just
is the same people, still working on the same thing.
say that one that you presented last time?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have since, we came in I think, mid-March, and we filed on about a month ago
Yeah.
with the documents. So on, if you just bring up the conservation slides,
Which one?
the top one,
The top one?
yeah, that's got a bunch of sheets. It's got like 10 sheets. You might, if it doesn't open fast, you might want to copy it to your desktop, but let's just see how it goes. So once it opens, we can just flip the pages. So also with us tonight as part of our development team and conservation team is Brian Madden with LEC Environmental. Brian was involved with the project back in 2017 to help with the delineation or redelineation of the property, and also with the mitigation plan for development of the property. So this slide is very similar to the one that John put together that shows the aerial photo. And you should be able to share all the pages at once this time, John. You can just share one.
Yeah. You want to share the other one, Tony?
He's got it. It's one of 10 pages.
Yeah, but I think he shared the wrong.
Oh, okay.
You want to, yeah, that one.
Yep. So this is a very similar photo that John had shown, really just showing you the property. The property's 27 acres plus or minus. And the blue is the 100-foot buffer zone. I tried to not put too many colors on here. And the heavy purple line is the natural heritage endangered species line that was not part of the project in 2017. The maps were updated shortly after the approval was granted, and that is something that we're working with now. And we'll get to that as we move through the presentation. We can just go to the next slide. I think we talked about a lot of these things and where the well is, and the Hockomock River is right there as well. And if we go to that, that's just the same slide superimposed with the project that we want to do. If I can borrow the laser pointer here, John. This will be directly tied. I do have the previous approval on the next slide. Is what we've really done here is align the building, that the back of the building faces the wetlands. We have a very small access drive, and our loading is in this way, and it has ample room to maneuver into the loading docks and to store trailers in between each loading dock. The previous plan only had about 70 feet to access a loading dock, in some spots up to 90 in others. It's not really enough for the full-size WB 65 truck or for a warehouse use. The previous plan from 2017 appeared to be for a mixed-use warehouse, office, possibly manufacturing, and it was geared a little bit different. So with that, why don't we just go to the next one, John, and we'll take a look at that plan. So as I had said, so the loading on this one faces the wetlands, and it varies in width and isn't quite enough to get full-size trucks in. If we go to the next slide, their plan was built over 2 sheets. They also provided about 200 parking stalls for the development. So that again tells us it's a little bit different use. We can move on right to the next slide. So this is a colored version of the plan that we're using and the plan that we've come with, very similar to the plan that we presented at the informal meeting in March. So I'll just explain some of the colors here. The most important color is the comparison of the old plan is this green line is the limit of work of the previous plan. So you can see that we're kind of chasing almost the same thing, although in this one little area here, we have to go a little bit further. The other things that I've chosen to color here are what we had called, and on the previous plan is some of what we were calling the mitigation areas for replanting the slopes with natural vegetation, and then a restoration area within an area that's where they're really riding the dirt bikes out in the open field where there's no vegetation at all. This little thing where we have these different colors is an area where there's a real trail right through the wetlands. In the 2017 plan, agreed to restore that whole little trail that's actually in the wetlands. We've agreed to do the same thing.
The mitigation area, that's upland too, right? Is that upland or is it?
Yes, this area here is
Yeah.
wetland. This area down in here
Oh, that
is
area?
actually in the wetlands.
But
Some of
that
it.
mitigation is it wetland too?
It's not all in the wetlands now,
Okay.
but some of it is. So, and these areas are the side slopes that will be placing a 3-to-1 slope that we would vegetate with natural vegetation as well. So you can see that in the green line, the one benefit here as we get up here is we don't need to use any of this area. And there's a couple of areas right here. Our limit of work is a little bit inside of it. Our limit of grading is a little bit inside over here. But we're encroaching a little bit here. And then we are also proposing to expand the driveway, because when we took a good look at this with truck maneuvers, if we're going to be, planning this size for full-size trucks, we feel we need to increase the driveway width by about, 4 or 5 feet. So that's all shown on the plans as well. It's a very similar to blend. If you want to go up one page and back, the old building was, I think, 73,800 square feet, maybe set up for 2 tenants or multi-tenant, with car parking all around the building in a large parking lot. If we go back to the next plan, you can see that area right here where they were in the wetlands, or that deep trail, I'll call it.
Back there.
Let's go to
5.
4 and 5. Yep, 5. That's the similar area here, except our toe slope is on this side. For the rest of the area, we're using retaining walls, so we're not encroaching into the 50-foot no disturb zone any more than we absolutely have to construct the project.
Question.
So
So the only place is the red part where you're in the wetland zone?
that red part is where we're restoring a trail, a
Oh,
motorcycle
okay.
trail that's 3 or 4 feet deep, driven into the wetlands, that we're going to put some vegetation and restore it.
Okay, thank you.
So these things here go along with the planting schedule that we really can't see here, but it was thought through, but with Brian Madden of LEC and myself when we've drafted it on here. We also, your board doesn't have it, but when we did the planning board filing, we hired a landscape architect as well to help us with the front door and make sure we get proper coverage for parking lot trees and things like that aren't in the buffer zone, but it's all been incorporated. It's a full team of professionals to put together a building that's ready to go this time, as opposed to something that may or may not happen. Everybody's ready. The purchasers of the property are ready to start building this thing the second the permits are issued. So it's not on spec.
And it's just gonna be like a distributed warehouse?
It's going to be a distribution warehouse. They don't have a tenant quite yet, but we know that we are in the watershed overlay protection district here. We're also in the zone 2. The well is right there. So in the town of West Bridgewater, there's an overlay district governed by the planning board that does all the uses. So you need a special permit to work in that zone. The site has one for the 2017, or it has one for 2007 or 8, and then again in 2017. We've applied to modify that special permit for these plans. The conditions of those permits all say that any user has to be vetted by the building inspector to make sure that we're not storing toxic things, doing things that we shouldn't be, taking fluids and redoing things or doing more industrial type uses, and to make sure we don't have illicit outdoor uses as well. So that's a specific special permit that's governed by the other boards.
And
So
this is industrial zone, right?
it's industrial zoned, yeah. I'm just, those were some of the conditions placed on the previous permits
Mhm.
from the planning board, that we don't want, we don't want you storing crashed vehicles down here that are leaking oil,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yep.
So, as John had mentioned, and I showed John that first slide, the one thing that is a little bit different here, it's not colored on that, but this dashed line that comes to the site, is that natural heritage endangered species line. The second we observed that, I don't even think I knew that when we came in March, but I started doing a little bit more digging into my resource areas and realized that, and that we brought LEC, we were gonna bring them on anyway, but we brought them on right away when we saw that, because we don't really know the species when you just see it on the endangered species website, but when you hire a environmental professional to help you with the process, they can find out the species, and then we can design the plan around the species that we're working with. So the next slide is what we call a no-take letter from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. This is Mass Natural Heritage. I've really just highlighted a couple things. That's the Blandings turtle. And then, they were able to get the full NOI package, which included all of the plans and documents, and also a narrative from Brian that's included in your notice of intent. And what they have recommended is that they do not need to do any more with this property, assuming that we do a few things, and that's the habitat restoration, open space protection. Let's go back up to number 1 so we can read it into the public record. I forgot what it was, I'm sorry. Turtle protection plan. So we're gonna have a turtle protection plan, which will be part of the construction documents, habitat restoration and creation, and then open space protection. And then I've highlighted the part here where it says within 6 months of the start of work, the applicant will provide proof of the open space conveyance either through fee or permanent conservation restriction to the town of West Bridgewater Conservation Commission or another qualified land trust, nonprofit organization, or government entity. So that kind.
If I might interject, that's kind of what happened down at the Scotland Street 40B, is they needed to have a conservation organization be the steward of this land, not own it, but be in charge of what goes on with it. And so that'd be very similar if this is approved.
So when we saw that, we took a look at some things. Maybe we'll just the next slide, John. Oh, we don't need that one. That's just another page of the letter. We took a look at the zoning regulations with respect to carving off a bunch of this land, and it's not shown too well here, but this green hatching that's all in this area, it's about 17.5 acres. What we would do is we'd keep 250-foot frontage, and then we can donate 17.5 acres to the town, and the Conservation Commission could be the steward of that land, and it would be adjacent to the town's land right here, which is the well and the Hockomock River, which comes through there. I know John mentioned they were going to do some trail work and some educational uses over here as well that might come up into this area. So we have one more slide, I think.
One question on that.
Go ahead, sir.
Dave? The orange hash line, that dotted line through there?
Yeah.
This one,
Yep. Is what?
I have to look.
It's a flood A and a flood zone.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, the flood,
I
okay.
can't read it through there.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah. The floodplain line does go right
Okay.
through the whole property,
Alright.
but I don't know if we would, I wouldn't normally color it orange, but maybe my draftsman did. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's zone X and zone A.
Yep.
AE with the elevation.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Yep. So, the proposal for the land that would go into the management trust or to be deeded away comes about 20 or 30 feet off the pavement, about 20 feet off the retaining walls. If anything's to happen, if something to fall down, we just need a little bit of room to get down there and repair it. In addition to that, we need enough frontage to have a legal lot. So the property's about 27 acres or so, 17 and a half would go to the conservation, and the remainder would go to the development to have a legal lot. So other developments, we made some good progress with Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. We did receive, the commission usually goes to peer review, we did receive the peer review letter yesterday, had a chance to digest it, and we're gonna start working on some responses. Looks like there's a lot in there, but we think we can get through most of it without any significant design changes to the project, and answer the questions. And with the permission of the agent and the commission, we'd like the permission to just to be able to contact Alan and Major ourselves to make sure that when we officially respond through the commission, that everything will be acceptable, so we don't have to go back and forth too many times, if that's okay. So we have one more slide that's I added to, I just colored up what we call I think our grading plan or our utility plan, just to show you how we're, doing the stormwater management. Is the stormwater management here very similar to the last project? We have good soils here. We believe this is an old sand and gravel pit. We've done test holes all around the site. The old plans are littered with them as well. We use those for the initial design. We've since been out there with a full geotechnical engineer and myself to do some more test holes. We also did the perks for the Title V system, that will be taken up by the Board of Health. So what we have is these large subsurface recharge systems, and based on the criteria that we came up with, they're really designed to infiltrate all of the runoff from the roof and the pavement with overflows to the wetlands. The red dots, those are proprietary stormwater quality devices.
Can you explain to the commission what those are?
Yeah, there are basically larger catch basins that also have the ability to separate particles and store oils and sediments. And then we get TSS, part of the TSS removal. And then we overflow into these recharge chambers. One of the questions that came up within the peer review, the town has a local a bylaw regulating phosphorus. One of the ways that you can deal with phosphorus is infiltrate the first inch storm, is one of the metrics that we've seen. We're proposing we're going to be infiltrating all the storms. So by not having any runoff, we can eliminate the potential for phosphorus getting in the surface runoff or the rivers and streams. So we've hit on most of the points that we wanted to present to the commission and come up to speed. Within your notice of intent, there's a detailed comparison. We've asked for them to continue the waiver to work within 50-foot no touchstone. Don't know if it was a waiver in 2017, but the previous plan was in the 50-foot no touch as well. We're going to continue that. And the chart that's within the notice of intent does demonstrate within the 100-foot buffer zone we have a lot less, moving around of dirt, maybe 7,000 or 8,000 square feet. And there's only about 900 more square feet that we need to work on within the 50-foot no build zone.
So while you want the waiver to work in it, so when you're done, you're not gonna be you'll be out of the 50-foot.
I think,
after
and again,
everything's done.
any project that has to work in the 50-foot needs the waiver.
No, I understand, but after you're done with everything, you won't be in the 50-foot.
There's a little bit of pavement right in here in the 50-foot, so the, right in this area.
But after that, it's basically,
Other
You're
than
not
that
gonna be
spot,
using
the
it?
rest of it will be stabilized
Yeah.
and you'll be outside of
Right.
it.
okay.
Yep.
And part of the restoration plan for natural heritage, is that in the same spot that you were planning on doing the restoration to
Yeah.
begin with anyways?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very similar area. I think it changed during the process, but I think we got it into the final thing. The area in this area here, that was on slide number 4 maybe?
That yellow area on
Yeah,
4?
one part that will be changed, and this will be overseen by LEC, is as opposed to revegetating part of it and bringing in topsoil, we're actually gonna bring in some sand in addition to that for a nesting habitat for the turtle. So it'll be a mix of a couple things in that area.
I have a question about that turtle thing. the
Uh-huh.
plan. When you're digging up, are the turtles going to get dug up?
So I'll answer, and Brian will get in the way if he has to. I think the one thing is the time of the year that you do it. And one of the criteria is if it's in a certain time of year, you have to do a turtle sweep before you do anything. Then we put up our barriers once there's no turtles. And then part of the barriers is your erosion control line, and then we'll have fences and retaining walls so they can't come in. So I think I got that right, Brian?
Yeah, I'll just expand upon that a little bit. Thanks.
John, isn't that what they kind of did up on Pleasant Street?
Pleasant Street, yeah.
Yep.
It worked out good up there.
And they did it at Lowe's as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're all familiar.
Yep.
Okay.
Brian Madden from LEC. I recognize a few faces from 2017. Very similar. So the pink areas or the purple areas are somewhat revegetated side slopes that are going to be reseeded with the native wildflower seed mix and then replanted with native trees and shrubs. That area is going to be all left to naturally revegetate. The plantings are going to be monitored to ensure that they take. Somewhat similar to the 2017 approval. However, some of the areas previously were larger because on the perimeter there was some stormwater management basins, some open basins, and some more regrading. The prior design was a combination of subsurface infiltration plus a couple open basins around the perimeter. So we were able to tighten it up a little bit to minimize the overall regrading. And then with the mapping for the landings turtle, one of the important things limited across the landscape is available nesting habitat, open sandy areas that are protected. That was the area that previously we were going to propose to just revegetate fully. Now it's going to be a dedicated open sandy area for nesting purposes. And the time of year we would do that would be between November and March, when the turtles are overwintering in the Hockomock River and they're not going to be out and about in this area. So that would be done during the inactive season, and then by the time the next June nesting season rolls around, it'll all be set up for them to utilize. One of the other aspects of the project that we had talked with Heritage is the perimeter of the site development is going to be defined by either permanent fencing and or retaining walls that are at least 2 feet tall. So that's basically keeping all turtles outside of the construction footprint or the permanent development footprint. As you can expect, cars and turtles don't mix. So basically keeping them in that 17.5 acres of habitat area, and then keeping the cars away from that. During the construction, the turtle protection plan basically involves encircling the entire construction footprint with entrenched silt fencing. If that start of work is conducted during the active season, then we go in there, spend a lot of time and effort looking for turtles, and if we do find any, relocate them outside. And then it's just a process of actively maintaining those barriers up until the permanent barriers are installed. So,
The turtle in my backyard comes to the same spot every year to lay her eggs.
they're pretty habitual.
So,
Very
right?
similar idea. They'll go back to the same nesting area
Yeah,
year
so
again.
if you get rid of their nesting place, what?
Well, the problem with the current site conditions are there's a lot of open sandy areas, but they're highly degraded. So any turtle wandering into the open sandy areas, in all likelihood, their nests are going to get crushed by ATVs, dirt bikes, things of that nature. This dedicated, it's about 11,000 square feet, is basically the river is over here. And so this is like the direction they're coming in. So they're going to see and hit that spot, and they're pretty opportunistic. They'll take advantage of it. And it'll be a more protective area. The main access for the cars coming down is right in front of the mobile here. This road right through here. So they come in through here and then opens up. So that's all going to be cut off. And the Hockomock River itself on the other side provides a barricade. They're not coming in from the well site. So this yellow area will be now protected and allowed, for habitat purposes as part of the town open space there.
Okay.
Does the site plan include security fencing so that these invaders from the off-site property can't get onto your client's property?
There's a piece of it's fenced off already. Anything that's not fenced will be fenced.
But is that part of the site plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's on the site plans already.
And I guess one more comment. The nest here signs will be placed in that yellow area?
Yeah, so for along that open space boundary, Heritage requires like the signage and whatever the town prefers would like to see. We can install those out there at the appropriate location.
Does mean the turtles have to read?
So,
Sometimes I think they need to.
so basically, you guys are gonna be buying that whole property,
Yeah, Marcus.
28, whatever it is. You said you were gonna donate 17 and a half to conservation. So what happens if you don't donate it, but you give us permission to come on it and not use it? So that way, tax-wise, the town's, you're gonna be paying taxes on it, so you're basically giving up 17 and a half acres you don't have to pay taxes on. Keep it, pay taxes on it, but give us the right to come on it and block it off.
Yeah, we're open to whatever mechanism works for the town.
So this underline right here,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
either in fee, which means they would give the land to the town, or through a permanent conservation restriction, and that's what we did over on Scotland. So we don't own it, but it's a permanent restriction with us being the stewards.
Yep. All right, thank you.
So, yes, whatever the town would prefer to see. I mean, the transfer and fee, in my mind, having gone through hundreds of CRs take a lot of time, and currently the state is a little bit under manpower to be able to turn this around in a timely fashion. The deed and transfer can happen much quicker, and with the well being immediately adjacent, we thought on our side that it may be more attractive for the town to own that and have more protected buffer.
It's also good to have the
Which
town
really-
have taxes on it,
Well,
get paid to
what
the
we'll
town.
look into, I took a note, we'll look into what, if there,
No, I
there's-
understand.
if
I know there's not much of
tax
a
value
difference,
to
but,
it.
it's like some people say they've had it for 50 years now, I don't wanna pay taxes on it, I'll give it to the town. Well, that's like, I'm not saying you guys
That's why
are
you don't
like,
have to take it.
but to work out
But-
something, that'd be good, yeah.
Yeah,
I- you know,
so there's two options.
We'll get back to you on the value of what we think the
Yeah.
wetlands and the parts that
Perfect.
aren't valuable to the developer
Yep.
are, see if there's any tax value to it.
Yeah, I mean, if
And
it'll
then
work out,
we'll-
that's
we'll-
fine. Yeah,
We'll talk about it and we'll professionally respond.
yeah, no problem.
Anybody here in the audience have any questions or comments on this one? Anything else from the other commissioners?
You said you were gonna answer the question about the marketability. What was your question?
Yeah.
Did we answer that?
Well, in the beginning,
I think so.
you guys.
We went through the
is
two
this
plans.
something that you're gonna be doing, is this gonna happen?
Yeah, yes. yeah.
Okay, so what was the in the beginning that wasn't
So-
marketable?
Well,
What do you
the
mean by that?
the problem is that these, we're not gonna speak for anybody else who looked at the property.
No, that's fine.
We're here with Marcus Partners. Marcus
Yep.
Partners looked at the property and felt if they were to build that building, they would have a hard time finding a user, because they are in the warehouse business, of which they are successful right now on a hot streak all across Massachusetts, getting buildings similar size, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit smaller, but occupied by various tenants that want to store dry goods.
Okay.
So they feel with the building, the squarer building, with the proper loading,
Mhm.
that people
Okay,
will
so
smash it
that
up.
way,
It's
I-
about the access to the
I
loading.
thought you meant like look wise.
No, it's got nothing to do with the look.
Okay, it has nothing to do with that then. It's just being able to
It's being able to
Utilize the
use-
space
utilize the
better.
space,
They-
yeah,
like,
we're
you
supposed
know,
to for it, okay.
You know, the one thing that we haven't talked about yet, maybe if we go to slide 5. So the 2017 plan, the markets are always changing, right? They had 200 parking stalls
Yeah.
proposed to construct. Here, we're proposing 115 to meet zoning, but all the ones on the left, we're not even gonna build them.
Yep.
So really, 88 parking stalls, the developer thinks that they can successfully market the building with use of less than 88 parking stalls based on the things that they're seeing in other similar spaces. So we do have some parking on the left side. We're going to land bank it. It's included. It's one of the comments of the peer review. It's included in the drainage calculations, but there's no need to pave it until we have a tenant that's using more than 88 parking stalls. So there's 26 over there, 88 on this side. So it meets the zoning requirement, but we're willing to not pave some.
Snow removal, storage?
We showed it in the out in the very
Okay.
top of the loading area. And
Which
there's
is where?
Just wanted to make sure it was on the plan.
And there's within the operation and maintenance plan, there's sections on snow removal and
Yeah.
not bringing other people's snow onto your site to store it and hauling any excess snow away.
In terms of the well protection, is it because there won't be the dirt bikers anymore?
Right.
That, okay.
Right. Any other questions? I know it's under review,
Yes,
and you
it-
just got the first.
We did. I was able to read all the comments, and we're going to work our best in the next week or so to try to respond to it. And, hopefully without, we'll get through it without any significant design change. We're going to have to do some things, but
Do we want to continue for 2 weeks, or do you want longer?
what we would like to do is continue for 2 weeks, and if we don't want to waste your time, if we don't feel we have anything to add in the 2 weeks, we will
Request a
to
continuance.
continue
Okay.
again. If we
And-
make some good progress, or we have anything, or we need to change something that you need to see, we'll use that time appropriately.
And we do only meet once in July,
Yeah,
so just
right.
keep
So-
that aware in your schedule that
Mhm.
if it does continue
So-
to July, it would bounce it a
Yep,
little bit
so
further
we
back.
are currently on, we're gonna go see the planning board on the 29th.
Okay.
So,
Looks better than it did in the other building, so.
what's
Like I said before, it looks better now than it did before on the other setup that it
Yeah,
was,
well,
so.
everything changes, we've done a lot of buildings that are set up for multi-tenant, smaller spaces. Maybe they're doing some manufacturing or doing something slightly different. But
So we have a meeting on the 21st, I believe, of June, and then the 19th of July. So those,
So we would like to continue to the 21st,
21st.
and then, as I said, if we don't have anything to update you with or to make any
Yep.
solid progress or to get information from you or to the public, we won't use your time. We saw you have a long agenda tonight.
All right, and I will entertain a motion to continue to the 21st.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't think you
I
did
got-
that right. You entertained a motion, but nobody gave the motion.
Yeah, he
I
made
got
a
Jason
motion.
making the motion.
You can
and-
do
Sure.
it?
Yeah.
And,
You can do it?
Carol seconded it.
yeah, because you
Yeah.
need, well,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
you want your thumb drive, or is that ours?
I'll take it if you don't want it. I'll reuse it.
Okay.
You have the emailed PDF.
Yeah, I do have it, so I'm gonna give it back to you. So let me get out of
It's
here.
okay. I won't rush it. You
All
just
right.
give it to me the next time I see you, John, that's fine.
Okay.
Next on our agenda, we have 0 United Drive, notice of intent, continued public hearing. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Dave Clutter from Collins Civil Engineering Group, and I'm going to make this quickly and short. We just got our last review letter from Ellen and Major yesterday, and obviously this board needs 7 days prior to review everything that we do. And it's just a little technical things. So I just to bring you up to date, the planning board has approved the plan contingent upon this board's review and the Ellen and Major review and this board's approval. So they're all set, and they expect a few minor changes. And we're going to work through what Ellen Major requests for the last comment letter, and hopefully on the 21st we can wrap this up. So that's where we stand, and I just wanted to make that short and simple and bring you guys up to date.
Okay.
You mean the changes that they had, or the changes that we had talked about?
The changes that they had requested, and they were just technical things,
Okay.
like incorrect elevation on a profile or something like that I missed. So there were small changes. The plans that you have right now, they're 95% there. It's almost And I already made a lot of these changes already, but I want to have the 7 days for the review of this board. So that will be coming in this week.
Great.
Anything else, John? Is that? So I will hear John.
I'll
for
entertain a motion to
days.
continue to the 21st.
You make that motion.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So
Great,
moved.
thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a continued public hearing for 271 Crescent Street.
17.
So that's been requested to continue.
And do they want that one till the 21st as well?
Yes, yeah.
I will entertain a motion to continue 217 Crescent Street till the 21st.
I'll make that.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move. Next, we have a continued public hearing for off West Center Street, Old West Center Street for a NRAD.
Same, they
Same
asked for a
continued?
continuance, yep.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion to continue to the 21st.
Here.
A second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Now we're into our administrative part of the meeting. We have 63 East Center Street. Applicants here, I believe, and request for surety waiver in discussion. John, do you have anything, or?
No, the,
Yeah, what do you want?
Okay, so I have to upgrade my septic because I want to put an addition on the back of my house. I think that I need to wait because of the cost of everything. And I do know I have a failed system. I have a cesspool and it's fine, you know, I have no problem with it. I'm not moving, I'm there forever. So not selling my house or anything. So I'm hoping just to get a waiver on that $1,500 fee. The minute we decide to start, I'll be happy to give you the check. So that's what I'm asking for just a time waiver.
Could you explain to me what a surety waiver means?
But if the work isn't done,
It's to
So the
start
issues-
setting up the
Certificate of compliance.
certificate of
I
compliance.
mean-
So in order to do that, you put the $1,500 bond on it, which basically means that once
you're looking for the
Once
certificate of
all of the
compliance or
work
just
is
the
all
waiver of
done.
the surety?
Okay.
and the certificate of compliance is signed off on, then we give her back the
so
$1,500.
let me just explain. We have a requirement as part of the order of conditions that prior to taking the order of conditions from our office and basically receiving them, the applicant must give us a check for $1,500 so that we can put it in an escrow account. And that $1,500 is to make sure that the applicant requests a certificate of compliance at the completion of the project. Excuse me. And we have these situations where somebody is selling their house and they get a septic system upgraded and they get their Board of Health certificate and they go to the closing and they never bothered to get a certificate from the commission. The new owners move in and now they're stuck with the fact that there's no certificate recorded and they either have to get an engineer to do the as-built and then record the document once we issue the certificate. And so that cost can be $105 just to record the certificate. And then you've got the engineering fee for the as-built. So I'm estimating that $1,500 will cover it, and that's why we came up with that number. But let's say the situation we have currently on a street here in town, the original applicant back then deposited $100 because we thought $100 was fair for a septic system. But they sold it, they now live in another town, and I've been chasing after them because I know where they live now, and asking them if they would forfeit their $100 and we'll record it for them and chip in the $5. Or do they want to do it and they just ignore it because it really doesn't affect them now, and you can keep the $100 and they just don't seem to want to make a commitment. So I'm working on that, but that's a lot of work. And so I'm glad the commission went up to the $1,500 because it's a little bit more, as Tina is indicating, it's not an easy thing to come up with 1,500. So it really holds people to the fire, and that's the whole justification. She is indicating that she's not going anywhere, that she's gonna live there by virtue of the fact she's putting in an addition and fixing her septic system, and she's asking for some relief. So I don't know the timing. Does she want to get the system fixed, and that's why she needs the order of conditions? Does she want to put the addition on, and that's why?
I think, excuse me for interrupting you.
Sure.
But, I think everyone I've talked to said they should do it at the same time, the excavation work at the same time. So this is one big deal. It would be the septic and the addition at the same time.
But you
So-
may not do it right away. Is that what you're saying?
Right. The timing right now, I'm certainly not gonna do it now.
Well, put it this way, I'm thinking that if, obviously the septic's gonna get done, so even if, I'm not just saying it's because of you, if this is anybody that's looking for a little bit of time, because obviously money with things have gone up.
Yeah, materials right now.
So even if you were to sell the house, you can't sell the house until you at least get the septic system
Right.
done.
Right.
So when you could figure out, anybody, if you can figure out time-wise of possibly maybe either a few weeks before talking about starting it, then possibly come in and give us the check for $1,500, because no matter
Would
what.
that be around the time that I have to get a building permit?
Yeah, so I mean,
You would know, it would be an indicator that I'm gonna start work on it.
it's kind of like, I'm just saying, like, even like with older people that have lived in town, and all of a sudden, now they can't live here anymore. They have to get the septic system done because they are selling the house. So we waiver the fee on it because of hardship for them. I mean, I can understand this if we want to do something like this for, this is up to, it's just me saying it, but I mean, it's up to.
I mean, I think it makes
You can understand, it's not like you can't do anything until the septic system gets done, so it's not like he can say, all right, put the house up, I sold the house next week, see you later. The house is gonna be done. I mean, the septic's gotta be done, so
Well,
I'm all in
the
favor.
septic only has to be done because of the addition.
Well, but even still, the house, she's got a,
The house will never sell without the septic system
She's
getting
got
done,
a
whether
leach.
the addition goes on or
she's
not.
got an old
it's-
leaching field that's gonna fail no matter what, so she can't sell the house until it,
Yeah.
so.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
We have an order of conditions that has been, in all respects, issued, and it requires the surety. So that what I'm thinking we could do is, if the commission votes a certain way tonight, that would justify not having a requirement for her to give me the check. But you have to have some other reason for not having her abide by the special condition. So my thought was, how about we work up an agreement between the Conservation Commission and Tina that says that when the time she gets her building permit, she'll bring in the surety.
Yeah.
And
Contract.
anybody
Mhm.
ever says, we want the same treatment, they would have to go through that same process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way it's fair.
It's-
Some people will come in with
Yeah.
the 1,500 and others might want to request.
And the only reason I brought this up is because, things I have, all of a sudden, look at gas prices, everything's just gone up crazy.
Sure, yeah.
Right, yeah.
It is a hard time to even do anything for anybody.
Yep.
Especially, you don't even have to do it now, so
Right.
you're waiting, so it's not like it's a hardship. But at least you're coming in and saying, I'm waiting to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Instead of us holding the $1,500
Yeah.
just as a surety,
Yep.
wait
But,
until
yeah,
work
that's a-
actually is done.
That's a good idea, John. if
Or
that's-
started.
So who would think that a small backyard shed is over $10,000? But because of inflation and all the costs,
Yeah.
they're now 10,000, that we're probably overpriced at 5. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that because
But no.
shed companies would probably chastise me for it. But I think this is a way that is that can be consistent if somebody
Mhm.
else wants it in the
Yeah.
future. And it's a procedure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good way to work with the people too in town.
Does that sound?
Yeah, that's fine, that's, yeah.
Nice.
So I will entertain a motion to set up an agreement for surety to be paid when the building permit's issued.
I'll
I make that motion.
So, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
So moved.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm glad you came in and
Yeah,
explained it and
thanks for
asked
coming in.
instead of just.
Yeah, so I have, you want to talk about that other thing now?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, you know, I have the brook next to me, Willow Brook is next to me, and it is the highest I've seen it without rain. And it's stagnant, it's not moving, it doesn't go through the culvert. I think it stops up on the other side, on the Bunsey side, you know, on the river side. But I see it keeps rising. So something's holding it up, you know, it runs smoothly and freely during the year.
Beaver Dam.
I think it may be a beaver.
I was gonna say, have you seen any beavers in the neighborhood?
I am, not on my side, and I don't see any
Yeah.
activity, I've got woodchucks, but, you
Yeah.
know, everyone has woodchucks. And I see them swimming around, and bullfrogs and stuff, you know, things I haven't seen before, but I think on the other side, there must be something.
How do you get rid of something like that? Who do we?
Because the running part of the brook is on my side,
Yeah.
you know, it fluctuates our
Kind of like,
boundary line.
I'd like to see where that water goes. So
Depending on how
Yeah.
bad it
because
is.
there is talking about stuff going on the other side, so I would like to have that free flowing
I mean,
all the
the
time.
state can relocate them, or there are contraptions that you build into their dams to allow the water through, but they deters them from continuing. But first we gotta find out if that's what it is, or it's something else, debris or whatever, blocking
Yeah,
further
but
up.
I mean, I can see the, you know, of course, the pollen is everywhere, but I'm just thinking of all those mosquitoes that are making a grand old home for themselves, you know, on that water.
Yep. Health fact.
So
Could
we'll,
the-
we'll try to investigate it and see
Yeah.
what it is, whether it's blockage in the culvert underneath.
Could the town look at it?
Well, they can check the culvert part of it, and
Yeah,
then.
I mean, could they even kind of like walk in there and check and see if
Yep.
it's been beaver dammed or something, or
Yep.
just debris in there?
So
I
we'll
mean,
have,
you're welcome to walk on my side of the property, you know, but,
Because the other thing is, if it is beavers and it's stagnant, then Plymouth County Mosquito Control might have jurisdiction to
Yeah.
help clean up the situation.
Mm.
As an option. But thanks for the heads up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
we'll check it
into
out,
it.
we'll check it
I
out.
wasn't quite sure who I should tell that to, but, you know, I guess this was perfect.
Next, we have
Thanks for
150
coming in.
Ash Street. Thank you. 150 Ash Street, John, request for certificate of compliance.
yes. So 150 Ash Street, the applicant was Mrs. Green, and she deposited $100. I can't remember yes, it was $100, because it was an older one. And they're now asking for us to issue a certificate, which the property got conveyed without the certificate. So it's another example of how this happens.
Yeah.
These new owners came in to ask a couple of questions about what they could do in their backyard, and I said, well, you don't even have a COC at this point. And so the engineer that had done the work for Mrs. Green submitted the as-built and the request and the fee. And so everything is in order, everything's growing, and so I recommend issuing the COC.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to issue the certificate.
I'll make it.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
So moved. Next, we have 586 Manley Street.
241.
241?
241 Forest. Yep, sorry. That is the first or the second new house? Which one was
It's
that?
the one with the trees that came down that
Okay.
wanted me to
Yep.
investigate. So the timing of the conveyance of that house to the new owners was so late in the year that the builder could not get the grass growing out there, so he didn't ask for a certificate of compliance. It got sold, and the new people went in and with some drawings that I gave them, I indicated a couple of the trees that could come down, and apparently they've taken down more, but this is not on the builder, it's on the new owner. So I'm recommending issuing the certificate of compliance to the builder for the house and the grass that he put in, and the pipes and everything. And then that we go after the new owners for the infractions that they've done out there for cutting additional trees beyond the conservation markers.
I'll entertain a motion to issue certificate of compliance.
Make that.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Now we have 586 Manley Street for permit violation and update and request for certificate of compliance.
Yeah, this is the one that has a huge fine for doing multi-tens of $1,000 fines for doing work on that property that wasn't authorized by the commission through a stormwater permit. And they also have some work in the back that was originally permitted for restoring some wetland areas. And so the current owner who's in violation wants to pay the fine at the same time as he conveys the property to a new buyer. And I'm scheduled for but soil testing on the site Wednesday to allow the engineer that's working for the new person to bring that whole site into compliance with stormwater controls and plans that the commission can approve. So I don't want to issue a certificate at this point, or advise you to issue a certificate, because we still need to hold that carrot
Yep.
to make sure that this gets followed through with. And so I'm suggesting you continue it to the next meeting, so I know what's happening with
Yep.
the new buyer.
I'll entertain a motion to continue the request.
I will make it.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Moved. 561 Walnut Street.
I've received a draft site plan for the site. This is Leo's nursery up
Yep.
on
Yep.
Walnut Street. And the new owner has done some work out there, and I stopped him from doing some additional work. And so he's going to be filing it after the fact. And he's drawing up a site plan, and I've got a draft copy to take a look at and tell the engineer if there's other things I think he needs to show on the plan to bring before the commission. So they are making progress, and I just wanted you to know that, because I receive anonymous complaints, and there's no way to follow up with somebody who sends me information anonymously. And so hopefully having it aired in the public as this meeting is, that person can tell that we're actually making steps to rectify the situation.
Okay.
So that's why I'm bringing you up to date on it.
Okay, so next we have 44 South Main Street. Informal discussion. Which is always better than...
All right, I'm going to put the light on because it's starting to get a little... And I'm afraid of the dark. No, no. All right, it's just it reaches out to the screen up there. I'm going to call up a couple of my exhibits as well.
All right, we'll let you get started while John's going, or do you need to tag team?
Good evening, Walter Hermano, PE Hermano Engineering. I'm here before you tonight. Thank you for hearing us. I'm with my client Jordan Camara from Husco Living Materials.
Yep.
Just here for an informal discussion. John had an idea that we
Yep.
bring this up again to clarify what the commission was thinking and commission's input at the last meeting. Just a quick recap. You ready, John, up there? Maybe I can, your picture's probably better, easier to see, correct?
Sure, you want to use this? Oh, you got one.
If it works.
Okay.
So we- 100 by 200 foot structure right here.
So you know when that's blocking the stream.
Ah, we don't know that. On the upland side of this parcel, this whole entire parcel is over 18 and a half acres. Since we're on that subject, Willow Brook is right here, and this flows and converges with the town river on this side over here. I will say, when I was out here surveying with my surveyor last November, we had a lot of water last fall, and it was flowing quite well underneath that culvert that crosses the roadway. Again, that was November.
Yep.
There may be some critter activity going on the conservation land downstream. I did not see any obstructions. I think I actually explained to John I had seen something out there, but there was no obstructions at the time. They looked like they were cohabitating with mankind quite well. But for this project, the applicant is proposing to stay as far away from the wetlands line as possible. We've had all the resources delineated earlier this year and accepted through an ANRAD process. We have a 200-foot buffer to the riverfront. This line that I'm going over right now is basically the limit, proposed limit on this very preliminary plan of the applicant's yard. As you can see, it crosses over 2 isolated vegetated wetlands that are jurisdictional under the town's bylaw. We have no vernal pools, no sensitive habitats, no natural heritage areas on the property, but it is strictly the 200-foot riverfront area, the 100-foot buffer, and the other buffer is applicable under the town bylaw, the 25-foot no-touch, and we've also, on this plan here, I believe that's the 50-foot, John, I can't make it up, but that's the 50-foot that John's colored up for
So
us.
the red line is the 50-foot no-touch buffer.
And we are proposing right now to stay outside and beyond that 50-foot no-touch. We don't have stormwater shown on the plan yet. Stormwater likes to go to the lowest spot on the property typically. It does like to flow downhill, so there may be some areas that we'll have to use for stormwater management. It is a redevelopment project. There is limited pavement around the building, where I'm highlighting right now. Coming down this way, there would be the recycled asphalt product. Permeable and until fully compacted, then it's still permeable, but more permeable than asphalt. The yard would also have the same material, but that's after removal of some soils and replacement with 3-inch stone to act like a reservoir in order to capture some water. This line that I'm going over right now is the floodplain, elevation 49. The applicant is well aware, that his yard would be within the floodplain. If and when the water would arise to that elevation, allegedly, as it has been documented by FEMA, so it can get to that location. I've never seen it come to that height, but it can. If he has wood chip piles, the materials that are in the yard, he can't access them. He understands that. That's at his own risk. I think there's other properties in town, maybe with different regulations, agricultural, et cetera, that work as close to, if not closer to, rivers and protected areas. This is not that exact use, but just as an example, he is aware that he may not be able to access a wood chip pile if the water had come up to that floodplain elevation.
Or mulch.
Mulch, I'm sorry. Maybe saying it.
Well, wood chip mulch and all that stuff, yeah.
I should clarify, any exact specifications on materials, what the applicant may have on the property, I'd be glad to give him the floor, because he knows his business a lot better than I do.
You guys, you have dirt piles?
We have some loam, mostly loam, crushed stone, mulch, wood chips.
So what's the base of the park, the whole area gonna be, is it gonna be stone or is it gonna be crushed?
It's gonna be like a 3-inch riprap underneath, and I'm just gonna do like a mill and top.
mill on top of what?
On top of the.
A 3-inch crushed
yeah.
stone.
Of crushed stone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Keep this-
it will be a lot more impervious.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned to John about that big asphalt area. I was willing to make that more permeable, if that would help.
You're talking about
Oh,
The
Area down below.
go-kart track,
the go-kart track.
rip it up and then.
rip it up and make it, I can't do nothing with it, it's just there.
Yeah, you had mentioned that, I think the last meeting or whatever,
Big
about
what?
even
Big-
opening it up for access to the river too, right?
Yeah, so that was another thing that we had mentioned, right, Walter?
Yes, correct. Down here on the bottom right, there's access proposed for kayak or canoe launch for the public. Roughly where I'm sketching right now, there would be an easement as we propose to enter on this portion right here through the road, opening in the roadway. There would be an easement in order to allow the public to get down to the waterfront. At the commission's discretion, the waterfront can be, this access can be left as is, and we can use the existing pavement to drive on. It can be beautified. The client is more than willing to make it.
I was going to make it more presentable.
Very
From
nice.
product, make it look really nice. You can do almost like a checkered block grass style paver going down there. You know what I mean? With parking spots for people in town that want to go. I explained to Walt, I wanted to put a fence so that you can't get onto the property. Just for strangers, that wanted to just go down there and see the river.
We have existing fencing right now that goes all the way around here, up to an existing building, and then out back, the old Bunsey's golf course. Had a lot of fencing around the perimeter of the property. There's some in the middle.
And that's just gonna stay there, right, the stuff?
Yeah,
that's
I'm not,
way out.
yeah.
We did have a proposed replication area over here. I understand at our original discussion,
Why
there may be
disturb?
some thought requested to be put into having that replication area maybe somewhere else. That was also contingent, continuous with the wetlands buffer, which is where it would have to go. We just threw this down on the plan because it was convenient out in that remote corner. For
That's-
no other better reason than that.
Shouldn't,
we can put
shouldn't
more
disturb
thought
that
into it.
area though, I mean, it's not disturbed, it shouldn't disturb that area.
What else?
I have a couple of comments to make.
Go ahead, John.
So at the last meeting, I was in a remote location and not part of the room, and I had a difficult time getting a sense of the conversation and who was making it and so forth. And later on in this meeting, I'm going to discuss some things to try to maybe rectify that. But I was really at a disadvantage. So I came back, I watched the video that the cable television people do for us, and I got a better sense of it. And so I asked them to come tonight, and I put this on the agenda because I want to talk about a couple of things that it seemed to me I heard it through the video. And one of the areas that was, or two of the areas that were a concern to the commission was these wetlands. And Walter, are you proposing those restoration areas to compensate for these?
That's correct, John. 1-to-1 for those two isolated wetlands.
So, I could detect that really wasn't 100% everybody on board with it. And then the other thing I heard was that working in the flood zone is, or could be a problem. And so I'm going to be asking the applicant a question that he could maybe steer me in the right direction. But my thought was that if there was a way to work around these isolated areas without disturbing them, and letting them do whatever they do right now and have done. This red line is the 50-foot buffer. The riverfront, 200-foot riverfront is way out here, but this is what we call a redevelopment of a previously disturbed property, and the Bunsey Golf Course was mowing the grass and making greens and fairways out there, and so they were using a lot more of the property than what the current proposal is before the commission. So I'm thinking that as long as this area, it's in the riverfront, but as long as this area is utilized and some of this area up in here is utilized without getting into the 50-foot buffer, the applicant can expand the area for material storage without having to use these two spots. Now the question is, how do you protect them and what do you do with them in the middle of his contractor's yard? Why are we,
The machine, the projector is dimming.
let's see, lamp dimming?
My question, John, is just looking at the site and use and development. I mean, I could see the parcel or the spot to the furthest to the right as being a little more protected than the one right in the dead middle. That's gonna be really tough.
Yeah.
I mean, my suggestion would be to replicate that and leave the other one. And that way there, I mean, it is all in the floodplain to begin with. And I'm gonna guess my theory on these two little spots are that the golf course created a water hazard for their golf course when they were working on it, and that's maybe why you're seeing them there.
To be honest with you, they're not very
Yeah, they're
worthwhile
They're
wetlands. I mean, they're
a
just
minor hollow, basically, the
Yeah.
puddles.
I went out there to survey when they were dry, and we have maybe 6 inches to a foot in depth. That one's about 6 inches, and this one might be a foot at its deepest spot, which I think the chairman's onto something, because there's a barrel on its side out there with a old pump in it.
Oh, so it might be one of those
Yeah,
Yeah.
little.
And then there's that berm they created.
there we go. Yeah,
There's also a berm right around here. I think it might have been for driving golf balls, but I can't recall that exactly. But it stands out as
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 feet higher than the land on the inside and the outside.
Oh, so
But
that's,
that too is asphalt, which is what the applicant would be glad to take apart.
Berm.
that wasn't, so that wasn't said last time you guys were here.
Yeah, it's on the plan.
Yeah.
On the plan,
The berm?
Berm is on there?
Yeah, it's on it.
But even like the wetlands, well, at least I didn't realize that
Yep.
there was actually like, Tim had just said,
It's difficult to
could have been
see.
possibly like a thing for the balls to go, that they put out there.
right.
This is the berm right here.
Yeah, just a slight elevation
Yes.
change around that.
Barely.
Oh, okay, yep.
It looks like a hot dog almost,
Yeah.
shaped area.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see like right before that berm, the water's like trapped in that area. That's what I always noticed.
The other question is your proposed septic and stormwater would all be up around the building? I assume outside of the floodplain?
At the moment, the entire roof will be recharged
Would be, okay.
through underground structures
Yep.
underneath the display yard. And the septic is gonna be adjacent to it in areas that we've already perked. There'll be separation that meets the setback requirements. But there's a select area on the property that we perked. I previously perked for the current owner a few years ago, and it's a very good location for a septic system for a certain size building, but not for much larger use. It'd be perfect for this.
That building's not, that building's basically, well, we were talking before was
Yeah.
storage.
The storage, yeah.
For
It's mostly
equipment.
for material storage, different types of
Equipment
bags.
though?
No,
No,
mostly
the bags of
products.
stuff.
Yeah, but is there gonna be like little bobcats in there or
Yeah, like a
anything?
bobcat and a forklift that would be.
So what about
inside.
like the oil?
You're not doing any repairs or maintenance
No,
on it
no,
in
no.
there, it's just to park it and store
Just
it?
for parking
and-
storage.
What, the last meeting, there was a comment about this building. What were you planning to use it for?
I told Walter we could, I'll knock it down, make it, you know what I mean, if we had to. I just didn't know what you guys
It's not something you were
suggested.
planning to use, though. I mean.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna use it, no.
And then I think there's another building right in there.
Right behind the berm, there's another.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, right there.
Same thing with
Same
that?
thing, knock it down, yeah.
There's a little one right here, and then there's one more,
Right under the easement.
well, in this area.
Right there.
So there's 4 existing buildings. I think I've indicated remove, and that one I didn't
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
But
To be removed.
Would
the
you-
applicant wishes.
Would there, John, would there be an issue with, like, canoe launch there?
No, I think it'd be ideal. Anywhere along that section. Well, how about if, and again, I don't like to see isolated lands filled if they're functioning like an isolated wetland. But
Sure.
again, I think this was man-made. I think it, when I looked at it, didn't really have what I would consider a normal wetland look to it.
So, what happens if you just, considering now that you think it obviously was man-made by Bunce's, just work in the area that you propose to work in and just leave the rest of the area alone except for down by the, cleaning up the area,
Down by the-
knocking out the building, and using
Yeah,
that for like
just
a
cleaning those
canoe-
buildings up
canoe
alone
launch.
would be
Something like that, but leave, just fill in what you gotta fill in for those 2 little wet spots there that are basically aren't wetlands out.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just man-made, and just staying in the area that you propose to stay in.
Yeah,
Would that be a,
yeah,
okay?
no, that would work.
Anybody else, comments, any questions?
No, I mean.
Because I think last time I thought that those wet spots were
Yeah.
basically wetlands that were there, and
Functioning.
Yeah, I started doing some
vibrant.
aerial looking at
then
old
I
photos
didn't
and
realize,
stuff. and
yeah, I didn't realize, like you just said, there was something, a wooden thing knocked down in there, and I didn't, so.
Yeah.
The pump in a bucket, I don't know if they have tried to dry it out.
I think they did. It looked as if they were trying to suck it out and keep it.
Or a fountain, right?
That could be. I do know if you walk around here, I think it's the 10th tee, there's still a sign up on a tree or a fence, and there's another one back here. So they were using both sides of that, the big fence that goes there for the easement.
Mhm.
This side over here, we didn't show each one individually, but in our survey, I recall, they look like little UFO platforms. Those were the very short pitch and putt tees or greens, I believe.
Mhm.
And the longer ones, which really wasn't even a 3-part, they had tees out in this bigger area
Right.
here. And the real short course was over here, and then the go-kart track was down in this location.
I played a few there over the years, but
Yeah.
Was it always a little wet?
never. Yes.
Yeah, it was always wet.
And I never did the go-karts, but
I did the go-karts and I did the mini golf all the time.
Oh yeah, mini golf too. Yeah. So it seems as if they've got some direction now, and and they've heard clearly what you're talking about. I think what maybe.
That give you enough comfort and
I'm willing
know what.
to clean up that
Yeah.
area and make it like a
I
canoe
think
launch.
we should get together and talk about the specifics before you actually file, and so if you can do that as soon as possible.
Okay.
That'd be great, John, thank you.
Because I've got some ideas, and there's really no need to discuss them tonight, but I can probably direct you in the right direction.
Okay.
And I want to give credit where credit's due. I had asked John if he had any ideas for compensation for the 2 isolated. John came up with that idea, and I thought it was wonderful, and the client loves it. He said that's a perfect spot for it.
For the canoe launch.
Yeah. There's
Well, it
nothing
would look
else that'll
better
bring a
than it
little more
is
traffic.
now, so.
Mhm.
John, you
Good.
said we had concerns about flood?
Oh, yeah. Is this, everybody comfortable with, from the video, it seemed as if there was some concern about the wetness if the place floods.
Well, I was kind of concerned, like, how can you put something in a flood zone? But he's willing to understand that if it's flooded there, you're not gonna be riding out there in the
Yeah.
loader and doing business out there while it's
It's flooded.
flooded and all that stuff. So if you're willing to be able to understand what's going on, and people
Oh, yeah.
drive by all the time, and if I drive by and I see out there, I'm gonna stop and say something, but
Yeah.
The other
like you
place-
said, it.
But you gotta go
you've never
look at
seen
the
the water
spot
up
down
that
the other
high.
place, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure that.
I think it'll be a great location, you know.
You'll do
I
good,
get a lot
yeah.
of business from up this way, and I've dealt with like the building, Mike from the building department. I've done projects with him in the past, and it would work out.
This bin area here,
Yeah.
what's the base of the bin area? I know you probably have concrete or block.
Yeah, block bins. Yeah,
What's
it
a-
would just be on like the riprap material.
riprap?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're using a skid steer or a front end loader,
Yep.
you may dig into that though. Are you
Yeah.
thinking of putting a concrete base?
I could
or-
put. I didn't. Like right now, I got bins all on like regular processed material. We just hover above it.
Okay.
We don't dig down.
Yeah, if you take that processed material and pack it with.
Yeah, it
it
stays
packs
above.
pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And you have to really dig in to get it.
How
Yeah.
about the stockpiles out here?
Those are
Same
just gonna be
thing?
loose, like just loose.
But
products.
on
on the
process?
same material.
Is that what your yard is in the other place?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, we have it just like that. Yeah. Just that we don't have a building proposed like that. I'm looking for more indoor storage for dry goods, materials.
Is there gonna be a retail store in it?
Yeah, so I want to do that. Half of that building is going to be all indoor display, so you can walk in, you can check different types of veneer stone. The indoor of the building, half of that building is going to be all pavers. So I'm going to propose just putting that all on pavers, different types of displays. That outdoor display in the building, it'll be all homeowner friendly. You can walk up there, you can check. There's going to be different types of mailboxes, different types of plants. So it's all going to be permeable. There's nothing that's going to be where it's going to stop. I'm thinking about doing like a different type of like a bridge with like a pond, fish pond. That's what I have now, and I do have my displays all in between that. So it's kind of like it's not just some recycling material. I am not that.
Might be able to put that down in the flood zone. So
Yeah.
you have some-
So, and it works out like John Walter was saying. You said that would be where my roof storage would go.
Oh, in the front.
And under the display.
This is your display area that you're proposing?
Yeah.
Joe? Yes. Right now, the roof runoff would be infiltrated into the ground right there. We have it set so far at the 100-year storm, so we shouldn't have any spillage out of there. I'll double check calculations. But there is some water we're gonna have to capture off the paved surface here. There may be a small infiltration basin that's required up in this location.
You have it set at the 100-foot? Yeah, you do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Again, very preliminary, you know, I'll have to look at them several times just to be sure. We need an outlet for it. It's always recommended to have an outlet, and that's proposed right now just to come down into his yard. This is gonna be several feet lower. This is about elevation 53. The yard is currently 49 or less, about 46 at the wetlands. And he's cognizant, as well as I am, every foot that we propose to fill in here, I have to compensate for that to make sure there's no loss in the floodplain storage. So we still got a lot of dancing to do on the project. There's a lot of permitting required. We still need a special permit with, through ZBA. We need a Army Corps permit, and we also have to go through the DEP. But aside from the notice of intent, obviously, with the commission.
All right.
Thank you.
Get in touch with John, and I think you got something to work with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to chat about it, just let me know.
Yep, just give me a call so we can set up the time, because it's pretty, everybody's meeting with me and it gets pretty busy.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Great, John. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Next we have 389 West Center Street, septic discharge to storm drain.
They're working.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yep. So they paid their fines, they gave me the pumping records, and they assured me that the following week they would have a contractor out there, and sure enough, the following week they were out there digging. I've been out doing some spot checks on them.
I actually saw a septic truck backing up in the morning, probably about a week ago, backing up. So they are doing the
good.
job.
So the,
It's only gonna benefit them, I don't know why it took them so long. They have
so the person
fines.
who kept tipping me off to the fact that there was these violations, hopefully that he'll hear this meeting and know that we followed through.
Yeah, had they done it way back when it first started, it would have been a heck of a lot cheaper.
Yeah, a lot cheaper too,
All
yeah.
the way around.
I mean, that's the thing.
Right, proposed soil special concern.
Yeah, we were going to have the public hearing this evening, but by the time I was able to get the ad put together, it's going to be for the 21st.
Okay.
All right.
And it's already been put in the paper, so.
Perfect.
And I have the draft copies for, because the ad says if you're interested in knowing what the change is going to be, come to the Conservation Office. So Kitty's got a hard copy draft and a digital, and I've got a digital. So if anybody's looking for what we're talking about, they can come in.
Pratt's Landing,
Pratt's Landing.
do you have an estimate?
26.4.
All right, so I'll call that one up. So this is an estimate from Ramco. You can see what work they will do there. Erosion control installation, electric pole disconnect, and move. It's already disconnected from the street. It just has to be moved. I'm sorry. The wire is there, but it's disconnected, so there's no power to the pole. So we have to get the utility company to take care of that. It's gonna strip off the loam and concrete debris and stuff that's out there and put in compact millings supplied by the town, install a shed, install a arborvitae plants, block off the second entrance so that we don't get people trying to get down into the field and get stuck. I noticed somebody got stuck in there. Probably somebody wanted to launch their canoe and they got too far down in the field part. We kind of blocked off the canoe access way, but they went over into the field and got stuck. And construct a kayak rack so that the Open Space Committee can, for a small fee, let people just leave their kayaks there locked up, but it's like a convenience type of thing for them, so they don't have to transport it in all the time. And that's $26,400. We had a $20,000 grant, and a lot of people have promised me that they'd get me an estimate, but Ramco's the only one that came through. So we don't have a lot to choose from, and I had asked them if they could do the pavilion for in memory of Ryan Burns, and that would have made it $80,000.
Really?
Because of pumping concrete for the concrete pad, putting in the footings for this pavilion, and you can buy one at Lowe's, let's say, or something, or Ocean State, I don't know where, but if the wind gets going through there, it's going to rip it out. So it needs to have proper footing and a foundation and anchored to it so that we don't lose it.
How much of the, like, say the ones at Lowe's or Ocean State pavilions? Do you have any idea?
I haven't priced them out, but I told him, I said, well, let's make that another project.
Yeah.
And so we can figure out what we want to do. Perhaps what we can do is, rather than having a concrete slab to have the picnic table, we can put in some 4-foot footings for each hole and anchor to that, and then put down a gravel, stone dust, whatever type of surface for the picnic table area underneath the pavilion and maybe reduce some of this cost, but it was getting to the point where it was not gonna be feasible, so I said, just do the Pratt's Landing portion.
Now, some of that, you know, that big fine that we got coming from Manley Street, is that all coming to us, or is a certain part are we given to, the general fund?
So I would say that it's a decision of the commission. And so when you decide how you want to use those funds, I just have to make sure I use the right numbers to put it into the treasury. So if it's a portion of it's for special projects that we do, and a portion's for the general budget, the commission can decide on how they want to split that up.
Okay. Because even if we bought something like that pavilion.
That's why I'm thinking we have some additional money.
Yes.
Yeah, which,
$2,000, yeah. So then we can have somebody put in, you know, even if,
Well, volunteers could dig the holes for each footing for the
Yeah.
posts.
true,
And
The sonotubes in and
put the
fill 'em.
sonotubes and then get the cement.
so there's other ways around it
True.
where we don't have to necessarily have a contractor do it for
Yep.
us.
I mean,
And then just throw crushed gravel or something. We don't necessarily
It
need
looks
a.
like
right.
the most thing that's gonna cost the most is the pavilion, which is
They're-
not
the
much
other-
at
the o-
all.
The other one, the other ones are like 2,000, so we're, you know, plus or minus 2,500. And
I mean, I can go out there
So we're realistically
and dig holes too and put the
maybe
sonotubes.
$5,000
Yeah, I mean, and
I
then we
mean,
can use,
worth of labor
Maybe,
materials and what we have to.
we can decide what we wanna do with that fine money, and then go from there.
So I think a lot of the cost was for a concrete slab.
Yeah,
Pump-
yeah.
Using a pump truck to get it
Yeah.
out there, because no cement truck could get into that field, even in the dead of summer.
Right.
It's
Right,
probably-
we're gonna need to go to, yeah.
sink out of sight. And so I think that's where a lot of the costs were gonna go, and it wasn't worth
Mhm.
delaying this portion for that.
Yeah, I mean, we got the $20,000.
My only question on this one, John, would it, I know the kayak rack would be a nice bonus piece, but could that be an Eagle Scout project?
Problem that we're finding is
I mean, I'm just.
the Eagle Scouts aren't coming
As
and
fast
finishing
as
their
they could.
projects.
Well, they're doing the, aren't they doing the,
Kiosk.
kiosks, yeah. Because it was funny, because I went down to the Riverwalk, and sitting there talking on the way back, some lady went up to, I think was talking to Nick's wife, and then she was saying, oh yeah, you know, she goes, what's that over there, you know, the canoe launch. She goes, is that there all the time? Is it, anybody can use it? And his wife was like, yeah, it's for the town, it's for the people. Oh my God, I didn't know that was there. It's been there for a few years, so some people haven't, they
Yep.
don't know it's there. But she goes, yeah, so that's, we got the kiosk going up right now, or they were doing it, starting it, to show this is what it's for. And she goes, oh my God, that's such a great idea, and all that stuff. I love it. She goes, I'll be down here all the time. So that's a good sign,
Once we clear out the big tree.
in the river.
Someone was in today talking about doing it, and I
Was that the same person we saw last night?
no.
Oh, another one, okay,
No,
because I talked to somebody last night about it. and
Well,
they're
they
gonna
come-
organize a group of people to go take care of it.
So this person that was in today happened to be discussing it in the office, and another person in the office said, well, you know, you can not cut the whole thing, you can only cut just what you need to. And I said, use your judgment. So I wasn't saying do 3 feet or 2 feet. I said, use your judgment. And so if somebody's gonna go through the trouble of getting out there, it's not a safe thing to do in the first place. And secondly, not everybody is willing to do it. I'm not gonna restrict somebody
You?
and tell them you can only cut 3 feet. Because if the kayak is 2 foot, why do you need 6 feet? Well, I don't care.
Two
6
people
feet,
side
2
by
feet.
side. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
At will.
accepting the person's goodwill offer and not trying to hamstring and.
And it's not doing any damage.
Yeah, because where that tree actually came across the river is one of the deeper parts of the town river right there.
Oh, really?
You can't, it's not a wader kind of thing. You're not gonna get hip waders or whatever to get,
Oh.
you're gonna have to do it from.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are interested because I mean, after I did my initial stink last year or whatever, and Nick and I talked about it a little bit, and then we talked about it when we set up the canoe launch last 2 weekends ago or whatever. Since then, though, somebody put the picture of it out
Yes.
on the West Bridgewater Hub,
Yes.
and that like drew all sorts of attention. And so I know like Eric Diedersing is interested in helping out. You know, like, hey, I've got the boats. Like, let me know when it's happening. So
I think the gentleman that was in today will take a look at how deep it is and so forth, and probably say no, and they'll go back to you and Nick
Yeah,
and it'll get done. But it's not an easy thing, and even at last night's meeting, the event that we were at, a person was kind of, I won't say complaining, but had mentioned the difficulty of walking some of these paths. Well, it takes volunteers to go out there and clear these things, and you
keep them maintained.
it's a
accessible.
big job, and sometimes people don't realize it. And if we had a huge recreation department that went out with landscape materials to keep these paths open, then you could complain. But when you have volunteers who are giving up their free time, and you can't expect that all the trails will be 100%. So I'd like to go on Facebook and say, when you walk a trail, take a pair of snippers with you.
Right, yeah.
and trim it out as you go.
We could get Friends of the Trails,
Yep. But again, it's
like Friends of the Library.
It's not a town department, and so it's a tough thing. So I guess if the commission is willing to spend the 26.4 for those,
I'd like to be able to
Yeah.
spend the
How
20
many
grand
kayaks
come
can
and
get
do it
stored?
For the grant.
How many
Got
what?
the grant,
Kayaks
so
can be
that's
stored.
$6,000 more.
Depends on how big you.
so the typical rack, if I picture it properly, is like maybe 3 or 4 on each side. So at the most 8 or 6 to 8. So
I built a 4 in my yard.
And like how are they secured so people can't take them?
a chain.
What's that?
The
The
securing the
kayaks.
kayaks, if somebody's boarding their kayak, they're
Oh,
paying
yeah.
a little fee to open space.
And can I make a request about the driveway?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna put lines, how the cars can park, if they could park so the headlights are facing the river, not my house.
So
Oh, you're
that's the
such
way
a
it's laid
stinker.
out, is that they would come in on the driveway that's closest to Forest Street, so opposite the one that's next to you. They come in there, pull up, and park facing the river.
Okay, that's,
Then
thank you.
they pull out and they go out the other way.
Okay. Thank you.
And we want to leave enough space, so I think there's a tree that's going to be taken down to make sure they don't drive over your lawn.
We could also put up a sign like they do at War Memorial Park, the dusk to dawn thing, that it's recommended.
True.
They don't really enforce it, but it's
Yeah.
there. I mean, if we so needed to, then we could ask the police department to swing by and tell people that
Sure.
11:30 at night is not the time to be canoeing and kayaking.
Or even just hanging out.
Right, but
So,
that kind of thing just as a deterrent. Where-
well,
You could
Carol,
put like
got-
you could put like posts and chains right at the driveways.
Carol,
Yeah,
There
I
you go.
can.
And
Give me
you
a
just-
I
and
need
you
my
can call the
badge.
number too.
I want a badge.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's on the agenda.
I
You're
know.
gonna get it back.
I don't have to check.
Make sure you get good security cameras so they go far enough over so when you're posting the video.
Right.
Just get your video camera.
We
Just get
need,
your camera, just walk out there with the video. You have the
You need to accept that.
constitutional right to walk and record.
Need a motion to approve?
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion. We approve the proposal for Pratt's Landing. 26,000.
I'll make that.
I'll second that.
Moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And-
I probably had to, do I
Yeah,
have to?
One
I'd say
abs-
you
I
abstained.
Abstain, that's what I did.
Another one to authorize you to sign it on behalf of the commission.
Okay.
I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All in favor except one abstention.
Right.
So moved.
All right, so I think the last items are, we have
Invoices?
some invoices, but I think they're just the 241 and 150 Ash Street and a surety return for 34 North Main Street, which is the dentist's office that they've recorded their COC and now they're requesting their money. So those need to be signed, so I'll pass them along, and while I'm passing them along, I will call up the audio-visual thing that I want to try to see if the commission's interested in buying for the remote members. I saw such a disadvantage of being away that I couldn't see what was happening in the room. And it was hard to hear. And so they have a camera that has both the speakers and the camera, and you can, it's a 120-degree
Field division.
field of vision, and it's going to pick up a tripod so that you can twist it so that it could look at the audience, you could look at the presenter, and you can look
No,
at
the
the
speaker's mounted right in it, or they, I mean, that's part of the problem, is picking up the speaking, or for you to hear it remotely
Yep.
from the speaker. It's,
Paula and Steve, did you hear the presenter when they were talking tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so you heard
But
them.
at the last meeting, when you were not well, it wasn't this good.
Okay.
Tonight seemed to be a lot clearer and, yeah, but the last one was hard to hear.
Okay.
And I don't know what to do.
All right.
I got a question, this home viewing, is that gonna be continuing, allowed by the law?
We don't know yet.
It should.
I hope it does, but
Steve has that because of
doesn't.
allergy stuff and everything like that, right? Oh, no, what are you talking about?
Continuing it.
Yeah,
being allowed to
The
do
state
remote
allows.
participation.
remote.
Oh, at home, yeah.
Yeah.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't it extend only to July something?
Yeah, so there's an extension, but the, because of the Mass Society of Conservation Professionals are probably gonna lobby the governor to continue it, because they're the
Okay.
ones that lobbied him before. And there's still a lot of concern about COVID, so I think there may be pressure for him to do it. And people are getting very comfortable with it now, and
Yeah.
there's more and more technology that helps with it, and every once in a while, a real expert will help out the conservation agent and tell him what he needs to do.
I don't know about a real expert, but
I mean, the thing that's so weird about it is, we were allowed to, and we voted, that the members can phone in remotely to participate in the meeting. The public can't do that, but if we can, to me, doing it this way makes more sense than a phone call, at least for us to remote in, and the public should be able to, it's broadcast and recorded, so it makes no sense that they haven't made this a permanent option going forward. It really,
So what's the harm in if we hold the regular meeting where people can come in and we give them the option of remote? You still are providing the person the opportunity, one way or another. It's their choice. So I don't think we violated the open meeting law. And so if it's convenient for an engineer to be at home or at his home office and present something to us,
yeah.
and all the public is here, what's the harm with it? I think by us having actual public hearings here in person and having it advertised in the paper and posted on the website, I think we're doing everything anyway, regardless of whether he does not continue the ability to have remote. I think originally it was everything's remote and didn't have anybody in at all. We've made a hybrid of it, so I think we're going to be good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 'cause
Okay.
we've had times where the poor engineers have to be at 2 or 3 different locations for meetings in one night, and
Right.
it makes it just too difficult. I mean, they really.
Yeah. So you're gonna show us that?
Yes,
Or-
see if I can, sometimes I can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
That's
so.
okay. I'm really interested in that Days of the Week song folder you have on there.
Oh, you know, you saw that, did you?
I did.
So, it's a joke between Kitty and I, because when we've had a holiday or something, and she didn't know quite what day it was, she'd ask me, and I'd call that up, and I'd play it. Today is Tuesday, you know, and it goes on and on. So we got a big charge out of that. Let's see. Oh, it's not there. It's under downloads. Sorry. Z. Find Z, John.
Right there. Camera tripod.
Camera tripod, there we go.
Okay, this would be the tripod for, not our phone, but for the camera that I'm about to show you. And it's $23, or let's say $25.
Sure.
There's another one. It's pretty similar, and it is $22. So that's more like the camera that you'll see. Matter of fact, I think that's it right there, the Logitech C920S.
Logitech is a good,
Yeah.
good brand.
So we're
And the
talking
camera
about
itself is.
for $62, I think. Let's
So we're
see.
talking under $100.
Yes.
That's a cheap experiment.
Yeah.
I say let's try it for under $100 and.
Oh, you're not seeing this at home. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't have to see it. I agree. I think it's to keep up a little bit with technology is a good thing.
So that's $63,
Yeah, that's
$63,
the audio side.
$65, and the research I did on it said this is a good camera for what we want to do. So if you're in agreement, I'll put an order in with WB Mason, and maybe
Yep.
at the next meeting we'll have it going.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. And then for the
IDs?
for the IDs, $25 a piece for any of the commission members that want one. And all I have to do is, you send me a picture, I give it to Linda, Linda sends it off to the company, and they give you an ID that looks like this. With a West Bridgewater on the top, town of West Bridgewater on top, your name, and conservation member. And you can show it at any place. It's got, on the back, it's got the street address and the telephone numbers. So if you want to spend that, there's money in the budget. If you want to spend it, I can get one for every member.
Send your pictures in.
Yep.
Next haircut, take a picture.
Smile right now.
No! Professional headshots.
There was a mention about the Gibson land status. I did a title search on it. They put it into forestry. So in order for them to take it out, to sell it to anybody, even if they're in the process of doing that, they haven't notified the town yet, and we would have first right of
So
refusal.
they did put it in the forestry, huh?
Yeah.
I knew it was in chapter land, I just wasn't
Yeah,
sure which
right.
one, and if it was still there or whether they.
Because they had a a machine out there one time before, like a logging machine. Now that you say that, yeah.
So, the only way we get first right of refusal is if it goes to forestry?
Any tax saving, what they call chapter 61, 61A or something
The
like
61A, B, and C.
Yeah.
A is agriculture, B is forested, and C is
Oh.
open space, recreation
Okay.
spaces.
So they then get lower taxes, and in order for them to sell it, they have to have a bona fide offer, they have to notify the town. The town has first right of refusal, and then they have to pay back taxes for 5 years, is it? 7?
7 years back tax.
Gotcha. Thank you.
On what they, the difference between what they paid and.
The reduced rate
Versus
versus
the
the
actual,
commercial
yep.
rate, or the actual.
But usually the selling price is enough to cover that, and
Yeah.
everybody's happy.
So this is a good thing that they did, right?
Oh, put it in a forestry too?
Yeah.
I mean, either way, they're gonna sell it. But I
Right,
mean,
but we just have to be aware of that and be in our heads thinking,
Right,
okay, do we want to approach the town and say to the townspeople,
right.
is it worth purchasing this land to keep it from being developed?
Right.
Do we have another use for it?
Well, see, I see it as a real good thing, coming from, living in Houston, Texas, where we had no say what happened to any land. You wake up one morning and it's all developed in your backyard.
oh, really?
This is, oh yeah, this is really cool,
Hmm.
that we, the town has given a chance at least to buy it.
I mean, unfortunately, there's not as much chapter land as I wish there was in town,
Right.
but when you see them and you identify them, and we keep it in our back of our heads that when
But
you
they're
see
also
them pop
thinking
up.
as though the town's gonna be able to afford to buy it, I think. That's the other thing.
Well, right, but at least we have an option.
Yeah.
But I think townspeople are starting to see that there's
True.
more value to keep it as open space versus putting a 40B housing development on it.
True.
I mean,
Yeah.
because, like I've said before, that new school's coming sooner than you think.
It's in the plans already.
Got a 5-year plan, and it's gonna be here, so we keep building the way we are, we're gonna be more than one, or it's gonna be a much bigger school than they're
We should
thinking.
have, I think, combined Bridgewater and West Bridgewater. Made it into a,
3 towns?
well, at least
Bridgewater's East Bridgewater.
Bridgewater and West Bridgewater.
Yeah, but Bridgewater's already tagged up with.
With Rainier.
Oh, that's true, yeah, so it'd be East Bridgewater, yeah, that's right. Should have done East Bridgewater and Bridgewater, and West Bridgewater.
I'm
East
sure
Bridgewater
the
just-
superintendents would lobby against it.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
like,
Because they like their own little-
feel.
Yeah,
There's
me
a lot
too,
more
but-
control over
but
it.
still, it's like, small isn't gonna be small.
But that building was, that new high school was already small, like already at
Yeah.
capacity when they finished the
Well,
final
because they don't
pack.
let you build it for bigger. You have to build it for exactly what you need.
I had
It's
that
like,
argument at the
why
beginning,
not?
right from the
Yeah.
right from the bat, and they lied right to you, right to our face. Oh, no, everything's fine.
You don't get state funding to make it bigger, you only make state funding to build it for what you need.
But
You
they
should
could have done, I think, more to that.
You know that it's gonna grow.
There's a lot of open space in that, they could have,
Yeah,
so, it looks nice, but.
it does. High School Musical, like.
Anything else?
Nothing.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There we go, all right.